All right, all praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Elohim of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I want to say peace to each and every one of you in the name of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, who we know as Jesus the Christ. It's a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to bring a message contained in his word. I never count it as a light thing to do so. In today's message, I want to deal with the brevity of life. You know, the older I get, the more and more I realize how short life is. And I can understand why it feels shorter because the longer you live, if you look at it like in, I think was it Judge Math? No, not Judge Math. It might have been Judge Joe Brown. He said, if you look at your life at when you're 5 years old, 1 year is 1/5 of your life. When you get to 40, 1 year is 1/40th of your life. So even though a year is 365 days, time has not changed. Our perception of time certainly has changed, but life is certainly brief. And the end of life, regardless of what you accomplish or fail to do, whether or not you are famous or world renowned, or whether you die in obscurity, is death comes to all, unless you live until the second coming of the Messiah. And so, if that be the case, what should be our response? And that's what I want to deal with today. Let's pick it up at Job, the 14th chapter. Job, the 14th chapter. We understand that, death came into the world because of sin. And then the Lord even tells you in the Bible that he cut man's lifespan down. We'll read some of that. Even going back to the days of Adam, we think somebody lives, they're a centurion, not a centurion, but they live 100 years. Centurion is a soldier. They live 100 years, and we think, man, that was a long time. That's not a long time. Adam lived 930 years. Methuselah, 969 years. But the Lord told Adam, in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. When he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, he died in that very day, because the day of the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as one day. And when sin, you read in Genesis the 6th chapter, when you saw this intermingling between the sons of God and the daughters, men, the unrighteous and the righteous marrying, and sin became just wholesale. What took place is you had the flood, and I believe that the circumstances on this earth were different prior to the flood. That's why I think you see even today certain animals and vegetation that are hundreds of years old. But nevertheless, death came, even though they lived long, and he cut us down to 120 years back then. But he cut it down again. We'll read that. But before we read that, let's pick it up in Job, the 14th chapter, because Job speaks to the brevity of life. He says in verse 1, man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. So your life is short, and it's problems all throughout your life. You come born into a situation, in pain, your mother in pain, you in pain as the child, you covered in blood, and you don't know, you have no control over what you've been born into. But one thing is for sure, you keep living, you're going to have problems. You're going to have pain, more pain. You're going to have emotional pain. You're going to have disappointments. You're going to see people pass on. You're going to see people betray you. You're going to see all types of things. You're going to see trouble. I seen, likened it life to trouble, crises, trouble, crises, trouble, crises. That's how life goes. So it says, man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. He fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. Just like you'll see a flower. Uh-oh. What just happened here?